Hi everyone, my name is Natalia, and today I'll be walking you through 3 organizational behavior concepts that really stood out to me throughout this course. What I found interesting is that these aren't just business concepts. They actually show up in everyday work experiences and even in our personal lives. The 3 I chose are individual attitudes and behaviors, communication, and organizational culture. And what I'll focus on is not just what they are, but how they've actually changed the way that I think about work and the kind of environments that I want to be a part of. So, starting with individual attitudes and behaviors, I chose this one because it really explains a lot about what we see in the workplace. Things like motivation, engagement, and even why people start to disconnect from their jobs. One thing that really stood out to me is how much our attitude actually affects our performance. It's not just about skills or ability. It's also about how we feel about the work that we're doing. And something I found really interesting is that behavior isn't just who you are as a person, it's also shaped by the environments that you're in. So the same person can behave very differently depending on the workplace. For me personally, this made me a lot more aware of what actually drives my satisfaction at work. I started thinking more about what kind of environment brings out the best energy versus what drains that energy. So moving forward, I know I'll be a lot more intentional about where I choose to work because that environment will directly impact how I show up every day. The second concept I chose is communication. This one felt obvious at first, but once we really got into it, I realized how complex it actually is. Communication is at the center of everything: teamwork, coordination, decision-making. But it also is where a lot of problems come from. One thing I really notice about myself is how easy I fall into multitasking while someone else is speaking or while there's communication happening. And before this course, I genuinely saw that as a strength, my ability to multitask. But now I realize it actually takes away from truly understanding what someone is saying and from the learning process about communication. Another big shift for me was around listening. I realized that a lot of the time I wasn't necessarily listening to understand. I was listening to be ready to respond. So now I'm making a conscious effort to slow down, really listen, and be present in conversations, both professionally and personally. Also, something simple but very powerful is being okay with saying, I don't know. That alone can open up doors for better communication, honest communication, and for learning. Overall, this concept made me realize that communication isn't just about talking, it's about being intentional in how we connect with others. And finally, the last concept I chose is organizational culture. This one probably had the biggest impact on me. What really stood out is how culture influences everything: how people behave, how much effort they give, and how connected they feel to their work. And this is something I've actually experienced firsthand in very different ways. In one environment, culture was very strong. There was a clear sense of purpose, team connection, support. And naturally, people were more engaged, committed, willing to go above and beyond. Creativity flowed. In another environment, it was the opposite. There was lack of trust and support, and you could feel how disengaged people were, and that directly affected the level of effort and overall experience as employees, as well as for our customers. So seeing that contrast really changed how I think about work. It made me realize that employees don't just perform based on expectations. They reflect the environment that they're in. And because of that, I've become a lot more selective about the kind of a culture I want to be a part of. Things like transparency, feedback, a strong sense of team actually matter a lot to me now. So for me, culture is not just a background concept. it's something that can make or break the entire organization. So overall, what I took away from these three concepts is that they're all deeply connected. Individual attitudes shape our behavior, communication connects all of us, and culture creates the environment where everything happens. And when all three are aligned, you get people who are engaged, committed, motivated, and actually want to contribute and help each other out. But when they're not aligned, you start seeing things like disengagement, poor communication, low performance, absenteeism. And for me personally, this course really shifted how I see the workplace. It's not just about the job itself, it's about the people, the environment, and how everything comes together. And I think understanding that will help me not only choose better opportunities, but also contribute more positively wherever I go. Thank you.